Thanks everyone for joining us today. Um, yeah, we're kind of switching our schedule around a little bit. We used to have a volunteer mobilization and outreach meeting at this time, but we think that this format is going to make more sense just for what we have coming up. So that's with the convention. That's also because, we don't have two candidates anymore. And then also, with launching the new movement at the end of May. So this format is just going to work better for that up until then. Hello.
So I guess you'll do introductions, Jasmine, and then you should speak first.
Yeah, I was hoping to speak first. Um,
My presentation will be a little longer than yours because I'm looking at structure and history.
yeah. Did you want to introduce yourself, Barry?
Well, yeah, I can, unless you want to introduce both of us and then launch into your presentation.
Okay. So, I'm Jasmine, for those of you who don't know. Um, I have been nominated as the NDP
So,
presidential candidate from the Socialist Caucus. And Barry is the one who nominated me. He's representing the Socialist Caucus, who also nominated Eve, and also they endorsed Bianca. Okay, so numbers are kind of stable, so I might just get started. So I'm going to speak for probably like 10 minutes or so, and then Barry will take over for the rest of the meeting, and he's going to give some more context on the convention because I've never gone, a lot of us have never been before. We don't really know what to expect. So that's going to be super useful for myself and everyone. So, yeah, I just a little background about me. I'm from Vancouver Island, but I live in Montreal now. I'm pursuing my master's at Concordia here, and I also worked in public policy for a few years before this. And I'm also pretty involved in the Palestine Solidarity movement here in Montreal. So yeah, when Barry first asked me to be NDP president as the Socialist Caucus candidate, I'll be very honest because everybody in this campaign has been very honest from the start. I was very hesitant to accept because I did not join this campaign to join the NDP brass. But after he explained that my chances of winning are probably low because no one really knows who I am, and he also told me about running in this role and what it would offer. I am fully on board now and really embracing this campaign and this position. So, as running for NDP president, I get to make a couple minute speech in front of everyone. I don't know what everyone means, but maybe there's like 1 or 2,000 people at the convention total, so it'll be probably at least a couple hundred people. This is definitely an amazing opportunity. You can imagine that I have lots to say about what NDP Central would look like under my leadership. I also have a few grievances that I'd like to make known, but mostly just, putting forward an alternate vision is what I would really like to share. So I want to talk right away, I guess, because there's lots of people in our campaign who have said they don't understand why we're going to the convention and why it seems like the logical next step for our campaign. So I just wanted to give my perspective on it and, why I'm embracing going. Last year, when Eve launched this NDP leadership campaign, the goals from the very start have always been to push the NDP to the left, to call out its hypocrisy, its fraudulent behavior, and to make a lot of noise while doing that, to counter militaristic policies, and to put forward a socialist vision. So, yes, the leadership race is very long, but it is still the same one we started months ago. And we think it's important to see it through to the end. I think that up until now, the impact that Eve has had on this race has been monumental in ways that maybe we didn't expect. The attention placed on the vetting process, a filtering mechanism that is entirely anti-democratic, has been very important for the future democracy of the NDP and perhaps other parties as well. I think Eve also ensured that anti-imperialism was a factor in the race. I mean, ask yourself, like, would the same outcry have occurred after the first NDP debate about the lack of foreign policy without our campaign there? Like, I don't think so. Then, when we were faced with a rigged election, we didn't just roll over and submit to it. We said, no, this is anti-democratic, and we're going to hold you to this. We started the protest campaign, and even then, some people in our campaign did not understand why we were going through this kind of humiliating experience, this protest campaign. It was uncomfortable, it's annoying. We're getting criticized constantly for not just rolling over and accepting it. But I think looking back, it was extremely important to hold the NDP accountable. We did not do a liberal complaint, as Abby Lewis did, and complain or speak out, but have no intention of instigating change. So we're building a reputation in our movement as a group of people that do not go away and a force to be reckoned with. But I think also we've been very pragmatic along the way. We protested. And then we also brainstormed the next move, and that's when Bianca submitted her candidacy. I think that was absolutely essential to show that socialism and anti-imperialism cannot just be brushed aside with a random made-up rule by bureaucrats. We actually gave the NDP a second chance at redemption, and they showed their true colors again. So now, forever in history, I do not want to hear other people saying that we were blocked because of Eve's character and him as just being one single bad actor. Bianca's blocking discredited the NDP enormously, and now there are many members who are upset over this and who are going to be watching the NDP in the near future, and they're going to be watching how our campaign goes forward. So again, we are doing what we can to hold the NDP to account, as we're not going to let them get off easy at the convention, because we're going to show them that we're normal, regular people who are kind, funny, interesting, but also smart and persistent. Because there's been a lot of propaganda against our campaign saying that we're crazy or something like that. And it's important to show them that we're regular people and actually we just want the best for them, for ourselves, for them, for our country, for everyone in the world. So yeah, we're gonna go there and we're gonna argue our policies. And then I'm running for NDP president. So again, we're building power each time we fight back. Because imagine if Eve was blocked and we just disappeared. Like, what would that say to those in power? That we're a force to be reckoned with and dealt with, or a minor inconvenience that goes away at the first obstacle? So I really see the importance of the next step. The NDP wants nothing more than to be done with us, to get us out of its hair, because we are the only campaign that is holding the NDP to account. The other campaigns are sucking up to NDP establishment every single step along the way. Not only has there been silence from 4 of 5 candidates on Eve's blocking by the NDP establishment, but also only 4 of 5 candidates on Bianca's blocking. So we need to be on the floor asking the other delegates, like, how do you expect more democracy to come out of an anti-democratic election? Or we need to be there asking them, why do you think that your candidate is going to fight against power when they didn't even call for the NDP members of parliament to vote against the budget in the fall? The NDP had the opportunity to bring down the party that has overseen a genocide for the last 2 years and force an election. But the other leadership candidates did not even have the guts to say vote against this budget because they're afraid of alienating themselves from their future colleagues in the party brass. You know, Rob Ashton sings the praise of the NDP MPs literally every second chance he gets. And he keeps talking about Pierre Poilievre as the only enemy. He's clearly never going to hold anyone in his party to account. So we are literally the only ones who are going to do it. And we have to do it. I mean, we have to step up. Like it's our responsibility. We need to be there on the ground to see what unfolds. We need to be there and show that we're persuasive, normal, but we also have an inspiring vision for the future. We are also the only anti-capitalist campaign at a time when there's blatant imperialism, wildfires, AI getting pushed on us, mass layoffs, We are the only campaign speaking out against this economic system. There's also going to be mainstream media press there. This is good for us and probably potentially good for my speech. I see this as the final disrupting event of this leadership campaign. So ultimately, we do have to speak to people who disagree with us. We have to educate them. And I think that this goes beyond just at the NDP convention, but it's also, online. It's also at the grocery store. It's kind of everywhere. Um, I think the appeal of our campaign over time has grown a lot. And the NDP convention is a time to get into some heads, to push policies, argue our perspectives. And then after that, we will launch a new movement at the end of May in Toronto. I'm very much looking forward to that. It's definitely already coming up soon. But right now we have this goal ahead of us, and it's only a month and a half away. And I'm really hoping to have the support of, everyone on this call and the people in our campaign when I'm there. Arguing for our policies on the floor. Maybe that's handing out leaflets for my campaign. I'm almost also looking forward to meeting a lot of you there because it's been a lot of online organizing. So yeah, that's my pitch for the NDP convention. And now I think Barry will take us into some history of it, some more logistics. But yeah.
Thank you very much, Jasmine. That was beautiful. I think people can see why we would select you to be our candidate for president and why the socialists will not be denied. So articulate, so genuine. Thank you very, very much. I'll introduce myself, although many of you know me. My name is Barry Weisleder. I'm co-chair of the NDP Socialist Caucus, one of the founders of it, um, some 28 years ago. I am on the editorial board of the Red Review magazine, a publication of socialist action, of which I am the federal secretary. And I've been active in the NDP longer than I care to recall, but it's been a long time. And I've seen some developments, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with what is the NDP and how did it get to be the way it is? And does the convention operate in a certain way that we can transmit, understand, comprehend? That's what I'm going to attempt to cover. Please take notes. We look forward to your questions. Don't you, Jasmine? Yeah, we both do. All right, so I'm going to get it rolling. Start with the basics. What is the New Democratic Party? Well, it's a labor-based political party formed by the merger of the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation and the Canadian Labour Congress in 1961. So it was a fusion of labor and a left social democratic party that preceded the NDP. And it is the only union-linked political party in North America. Before 1961, there was a proposal to connect the Canadian Labour Congress to the Liberal Party of Canada. Kind of like the relationship between the passive relationship between Labor and the Democrats in the United States, but without Labor delegates having an organic connection and having a say at policy-making conventions. So this idea in Canada was roundly rejected. The CCF was formed in 1932 in the heart of the Depression. It adopted the Regina Manifesto in 1933, which many of you will have heard of that document. It called for the elimination of capitalism and it urged public ownership of industry, and to do it via parliament. So this is a feature of left-wing social democracy. It's not revolutionary socialism or Marxism. It is what it is. But coming out of the Depression, that was the call of the CCF. Now, the Regina Manifesto was replaced by the Winnipeg Declaration of 1956, which removed the goal of eliminating capitalism from its text. It embraced the Cold War. In the 1960s, the anti-war movement, which was led by a coalition of forces, including Trotskyist organizations, won the NDP to oppose the US war in Vietnam and to oppose Canadian complicity. In the 1970s, during the leftist waffle movement, socialists persuaded the NDP to demand Canada out of NATO. It was adopted, but that policy was sunset or disappeared in the 1980s. In 2006, the Socialist Caucus led a successful campaign to get the NDP to call for Canadian forces out of Afghanistan. In October 2023, we fought and won the NDP to a policy of opposition to the two-way arms trade and the genocide taking place in Gaza. The peak of NDP in Parliament was 2011. That was the Orange Wave under leader Jack Layton. Often overlooked is the role played by the popular Layton, who super centralized the party apparatus. Vetting of candidates by party top officials supplanted local nomination processes, leading us to the current bogus leadership race. So that stemmed from the period when Jack Layton was the leader. Following Layton's death and a leadership race, Tom Mulcair became the leader, and he followed Layton with the centralization model to heart. He campaigned for an austerity budget to the right of Justin Trudeau, and that was the beginning of the precipitous downfall of the NDP. It went from official opposition status, over 100 seats, to less than 70 seats, and much less than that now. The latest opinion polls show that the party is somewhere between 2 and 4% in the polls, which at an election would likely yield 0 seats in Parliament. Given the decline in democracy in the party, what is the significance of the NDP Federal Convention? Well, according to its constitution, the NDP Convention is the supreme governing body, that's in quotation marks, supreme governing body of the party. It is a gathering of over 1,000 delegates in all likelihood, and they vote on policy resolutions and constitution amendments. Where do these delegates come from? Well, they are elected by the electoral district associations. You'll hear it referred to as the EDAs. They're elected also by affiliated unions. They're elected also by youth clubs. What's the ratio? The ratio is 1 delegate for every 50 members of an EDA, an NDP EDA. The same is true in unions and youth clubs. 1 delegate for every 50 members of the NDP in an affiliated union. And I shouldn't jump over this point too quickly. When you go to an NDP convention, if you've been to one, you know that this is true. One of the first things you notice when you enter the convention hall is the plethora of placards on the tables pronouncing, the name of the union that is affiliated to the party and the delegates that came from the union who sit at that table. United Food and Commercial Workers, Service Employees International Union, United Steel Workers Union, CUPE, Canadian Union of Public Employees, and others. So that's a difference that you would see attending any other major political party in North America. Now, there are 343 federal electoral districts in Canada. Probably half of them have an active New Democratic Party EDA. The credentials of the inactive districts are distributed through a waiting list. So virtually any NDP member can still get a credential and go to the convention as a delegate. And we encourage you to go, even if you can't get a delegate credential through the waiting list. You can access the waiting list at ndp.ca, website, ndp.ca. And we want so much to encourage people to go, especially those, for whom the cost is consequential. So we have a committee in Winnipeg, and we're trying to organize billeting now so that people will have a free or low-cost place to stay if they go to the convention. And we need folks at the convention to do many, many things. And Jasmine mentioned some of them. But why go to the convention? I think that's the question that we really need to answer. Well, the reason is simply because it will be the scene of the largest gathering of NDP activists uh, this year, for sure, or for a long time to come. It offers the best opportunity to win working class people to a new socialist movement. The NDP reported 124,000 members in 2017. Now we know it's fallen on hard times, but even if the number is half that number, and it's spread across nearly 200 of the 343 electoral districts, it still vastly outnumbers the total number of revolutionary socialists and their organizations existing in Canada, in the Canadian state today. That is why the Eve and Bianca campaign for leader was able to attract over 1,000 supporters and financial donors. A new socialist party, to be viable, must win many NDP members, past and present. And you can gather them under the roof of a convention where the party is holding a gathering to decide on its future. To establish itself in every province, region, and Indigenous territory, the new party, if there is to be one, would aim to capture a sizable portion of those who voted for the NDP in April 28th, 2025. Can you guess how many people voted for the NDP? 1.4 million, despite the precipitous fall in NDP influence. 1.4 million. So we need a big chunk of that group if we can't change the direction of the NDP to establish something to replace it. So now let's look at the convention itself. It takes place on March 27, 28, 29. It begins with welcoming speeches, a land recognition statement, followed by adoption of the agenda. Now I'll warn you, half of the convention time is wasted on guest speakers and tutorials on fundraising, believe it or not. They've got 1,000 people in a room. Can you imagine just saying, oh, we're going to stop talking policy. We're going to talk about how to raise money in your next local campaign. Yeah, well, that happens. Delegates may seek to amend the agenda to increase the time for policy debate. We in the Socialist Caucus believe that 3/4 of the time at a convention should be devoted exclusively to policy debate. People come together at great cost over vast distances, and they want to be treated as the important folks that they are. Resolutions are grouped together into 5 or 6 categories. Categories like energy policy, human rights, foreign affairs. Days before the convention, delegates will be invited to vote on the resolutions they want to place at the top of each policy category. There are 11 Socialist Caucus resolutions widely circulated since December, and they're led by resolution number 1, let the members decide, abolish vetting. But there will be some 60 or more resolutions in each section, each policy section I mentioned. So in the voting on the resolutions that should be prioritized, we need all of you to vote to prefer our own above all other resolutions. Whatever happens, socialists can go to the con mic on the floor of the convention, and they can say, and you'll hear this frequently, this resolution doesn't go far enough. Or even see someone move to refer the resolution back to the resolutions committee with instructions to insert new wording. That's called referral with instructions. So if a resolution is really weak and crappy, we can move that it go back to the committee and insert a few words that would make it more meaningful if we can fashion it in that way on the floor, on the fly. We may not win better wording, but we can educate our fellow workers. We can help them to understand why capitalism can't be fixed onward to the socialist future. Now, elections for various federal executive positions will occur in special caucus meetings held on Friday afternoon and during breaks on Saturday, the second day of the convention. However, the election of party president, treasurer, and vice presidents will occur right on the convention floor on Saturday, starting around 11 a.m. Some will ask, well, is this a convention I can watch on my screen? At home, well, you can watch it, but the convention is an in-person convention. It's for delegates to speak or to vote on resolutions and to vote on representatives to serve on the executive. So NDP members can watch proceedings online or on the parliamentary channel, but you won't have a voice or a vote. Um, so you must be physically present. Now we tried, but we were unable to change that arrangement at federal council. We did try with allies. Now, the only exception to the voting in person rule is this: the electronic vote on leader, which will, in which every NDPer can access that vote online, wherever you may be. You'll be able to, as a party member, to vote on which of the candidates, if any, you want to be the leader. And that how you do that will be explained by party officials in due course. Now, our choice for leader is Bianca, and that's whether she's on the ballot or otherwise. The Socialist Caucus has no second choice for leader. None of the vetted candidates have taken any significant action to insist on a democratic, inclusive election. We're disappointed, not terribly surprised, but disappointed that a campaign that raised over $100,000 twice and so many more nominators than we ever needed and has active committees across the country can be treated as shabbily as our campaign candidates have been is simply unspeakable. And we should expect more from those who aspire to leadership, including the ones who were vetted. If they'd said, you know, I'm going to stop campaigning until Eve or Bianca is put on the ballot. They could have easily said that. And if all of them or most of them had said that, that's what would have happened. But they didn't show the courage that was necessary. So during the convention dates, the 27th, 28th, and 29th of March, we will host a rally and a concert featuring a rock band, and it will be held at a venue near the Winnipeg Convention Center. We're working out the details now. We aim to have a display table for literature distribution and data collection. Yeah, we want to get to know everybody and how to keep in touch with them after the convention. It will be a literature display table inside the RBC Center, or if necessary, outside at the entrance to the center. I say that because we've been asking for weeks now, can we have a display table? We'll bring our own, thank you very much, and no answer. One of the items for distribution will be a leaflet promoting Jasmine Peardon, the Socialist Caucus candidate for president, and other socialist candidates for federal executive. If you want to know the names, you can let me know and I'll report later. But I'm going to wrap this up momentarily. We have no illusions that our candidates will sweep the elections. There is no expectation that socialist policy will capture the NDP. It is more likely that the party will sink into the sunset. I make no prediction. I'm just saying what appears to be likely. So why wage this fight? Two reasons. One, to win as many workers as possible from every gender, oppressed nationality, and region of the country to the socialist cause. This is necessary to halt eco-catastrophe and to stop fascism, which is on the rise. Reason number two, to sharpen our wits, to gain skills in debate, and to show that, in the words of the old labor anthem, we shall not be moved. Indeed, there is joy in the struggle. For a long time, workers have rolled with the punches. It's time at last to push back onto Winnipeg. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.
Okay. Thank you, Barry. It's definitely